Well, let's cross now to Brussels to speak with Collins Nweke. He is a commentator on African affairs. Thanks very much for being with us. So first of all, on the elections, it is not just the opposition that's crying foul here, as we heard in the piece earlier. Independent observers are saying that this was not legit. Do these elections look credible to you?
Thank you, Hassan, for having me. Well, we saw this coming. The reason we saw this coming is because in the run-up to the election, there were quite a number of very, very unholy practices. Let's begin with the architecture, the electoral architecture of Zimbabwe. In the first place, new constituencies were created in areas that were, supportive, or let's say the stronghold of ZANU-PF. And so that actually left the opposition high and dry. And then secondly, the state media was seen to be an appendage of the government, often acting in ways that are far from neutral in its reporting. As a matter of fact, it is being said that, the state, broadcaster was a propaganda machine of government. So we saw this coming. And then on the election itself, we saw how, there were delays in delivering polling materials, especially in areas where the opposition party enjoyed, huge support, to the extent that, the election couldn't even be concluded in the time frame that was stipulated, that it had to, be taken over to the next day. So you see, this is just a charade, and by all standards, it cannot be considered a free and fair election. And of course, the observer missions, both of the EU and the SADC, have actually confirmed exactly the same thing.
So what's likely to happen then? I mean, the opposition has said they're going to challenge these results, but given that they're basically on the outside looking in, and Mnangagwa is the president, he has the levers of power there, what's likely to happen, you think?
To contest the outcome of the election will be a formality. I believe that even, the opposition gentleman Nelson knows it himself, because there are a few things to consider. Number one, the military still holds sway in Zimbabwe, and that is not surprising because, it started off as a liberation force, supporting the liberation of Zimbabwe, and they haven't managed to transit from those liberation era to, forming a military that is indeed, a neutral arbiter, one that has, no political leaning and all of that. So first and foremost, they are going to use, the military to quell any kind of opposition. That's number one. Number two, I believe that they, have constructed things. ZANU-PF have constructed things such that it will be hard to prove that election was rigged. Yes, delay, but the delay had nothing to do with actually, tilting the balance to the side of ZANU-PF. So they have their tracks, as it appears, very well covered, and they have actually kept the military, at bay to ensure that, if there is anything resembling a protest, that they will step into, save the day for them. So it's looking very, very bleak.
Let's talking more broadly then. What are the main economic challenges in Zimbabwe right now, and how has that played into the election there and the political mood?
I believe that it was very clear that Zimbabweans were devastated economically because, if there is anything that is very obvious from the 43 years that ZANU-PF has been in power, it is the fact that they have woefully mismanaged the economy. Now, it is being said that pre-Mnangagwa, that there were no food in the shops. There was, high levels of rationing and so on and so forth. Right now, post Mugabe, it is being said that, yes, they have food in the shop, but there is no money to buy them. So you see, it is a very, very terrible situation. So the economic situation is very, very high. And so the opposition actually very deliberately played into the economic menace that the country has been, and should a situation have been in place where the election was free and fair, the discontentment of the people of Zimbabwe would have actually allowed the opposition to sweep the election and get into power. But the powers that be know this, and that is exactly why they have continued to sharpen their rigging tools and ensuring that the electoral architecture continue to tilt to their advantage.
Good to talk to you. Collins Nweke, thanks for being with us.
Always a pleasure.